It's like, how do you, when a brick is this round, how do you even love it? Look at how round this brick is. It's touching on both sides, and it's just like a rocking horse. It's totally a different mentality when you're laying brick like this. Well, finally got the brick going around. I got one course all the way around on top of the block. It's going pretty good. This brick is, it's challenging because it's, it's got all these knurled edges and it's distorted, but I mean, it's going pretty good. It looks pretty good. This joining, this stuff is pretty soft, so we're actually gonna, take some time just to fill these holes and just make sure everything's full, and we're not going to join it. We'll do that tomorrow when we get in. It'll be in perfect shape to joint tomorrow, so we don't have to worry about doing it today. That's kind of the nice stuff about this, is you don't really have to work a million miles an hour to do everything. You got time. So the divider's coming up, and I'm continuing the block work here, and so I've been tying the divider wall in with wall ties into the brickwork on the sides. So ever since we haven't been able to tie into the block work, we've just been using corrugated ties. I didn't do it on this course because I ended up an inch down on the brick, but I've got it set up now where this next block that I put on here will be at the exact same height as the course of brick. So 2 more courses of brick here, and I'll be at the exact height with my divider walls and everything. And then I'll tie it in on that course. And I'm going to tie that in a different way, kind of an old way of doing it. And I'll show you that when I get there. But I started parging everything from, I'm not doing the smoke chamber coat anymore. Up here I decided that I'm going to do the like material with like material. I really want to do the lime mortar up here because I know that the lime mortar is breathable, and I don't want to put something that's too hard and not breathable up here, especially when I spent all the time and effort and money to get the lime mortar so it was breathable, like or vapor permeable. I want this water to be able to move in and out of this without getting stuck behind some kind of cementitious mix. So I did bring the mix up with the divider walls all the way up to there, but now I'm turning over to the lime mortar because, this is concrete block, and I just want it to be, if it gets damp in here, I want it to be able to breathe. I want the moisture to be able to leave through the bed joints and the head joints. Like, I don't want anything trapping moisture in here. On top of this, we're going to have a big custom rain cap anyway, so there should be a really limited amount of water getting in, but I'm just trying to be overly cautious and make sure that this thing can breathe and shed water, get rid of water. Yeah, so everything is all square now. The block work did get just slightly twisted as I was coming up through. It's kind of hard to keep it square when you're racking everything coming up through a hole like that. So I did get a little bit off with it, but I've got it back with the brickwork now. So yeah, everything's looking good. I'm set. In the morning I can set 2 more jack lines on that side, and I'm going to keep going. I don't know, probably I got a little more than 3 feet to go, I guess. And this parging in here, obviously I'm not going to leave it rough like that. This stuff actually, it sponges up really beautiful. It goes on really smooth and slick, and well, I mean, you can see what I did down there. It actually, it sponges up really nice and smooth, smoother than even the other smoke chamber mix. So I'm going to sponge it before we leave and flatten it out, make sure it's nice. This is an old school way of tying in the divider walls to the outside walls. You don't see it too often because, we just, people use wall ties and other stuff now. But if you're doing a brick chimney and you're trying to tie in these divider walls, this is a great way to do it. And I'm not going to do that on every course. Obviously, it's a bunch of cuts, but it's worth doing it a couple times as I go up here. So I just, I'm only 4 courses up where I just got my brick to this whole dimension, and so that's the first time I've done it, and I'll probably do it one more time up here somewhere. So I'm just going to do it twice, and I would think down the road that that's really going to help lock everything together. And in between, I'll use the corrugated wall ties to tie in. But like this chimney, these divider walls at the top had really failed and kind of fallen over. But I think had they just done something like this to get it to too thin to the chase, I think that maybe they wouldn't have fallen over so easily. Okay, we're making progress. So I've gotten to the point where I'm going to start stepping out the top of this, and I'm just going to step out 4 courses. So that will put us right around 40 inches tall from the peak, which is a decent height. For sometimes when you go too high, it makes it awkward to work on the chimney or to clean it out. So I did want to go high with this one, but not too high. I think 40 inches is a good number. So yeah, I just checked it for square and to make sure everything is right. And somehow, even with all this twisted brick, we were able to, I don't know if you can see how twisted and distorted some of these brick are, but we're able to keep it plumb and square and to dimension on all sides. So that was pretty good. So now we're stepping out, and I'm going to interlock with another course of brick right here on top of this course of block. So if you remember those 45-degree cuts that I had into the brickwork here, I'm going to do that on this course, and that will be the last time I do that. All right, fellas, we've reached the top. Just laid the last couple block in. I've got my corbels all done, and I'm just working on, I got to parge all this stuff up now. One of the things that I noticed when I switched from the chamber coat mix into this lime is the lime actually takes a lot longer to do because it takes so much longer to dry. And as you can see when you parge it, so I parged this stuff last night before I left, and it starts to dry out and it makes these cracks, right? So this mud's not set up yet. It takes so long for this to set up, like a couple days. But so what you have to do is just parge out. It's because it's thicker there. Where it's thin, you don't have the problem where it's thin. It doesn't want to crack. But where it's thick, it wants to crack. And sometimes you'll notice that these brick go from skinny to fatter. So there's a lot of variance in the brick, and the thicker parts will crack. So the one thing that you have to do is the next day go over it again to help seal up some of those cracks. But as it dries, you got to do it again. So that, I guess I really wanted to do the lime up here because I just wanted the like material, and I know that the lime sheds water really well and dries really well. But in hindsight, it would have been a lot easier just to stick with that chamber coat mix because it doesn't crack and I don't have to do so much work to get rid of the cracks and make it smooth. So even today won't even be the end of this because this is so thick here. So I'll go over it again today, sponge it all flat, and then probably tomorrow will be the final coat to make sure all the cracks are sealed up, and then after that it won't crack. And anywhere where you're flat and it's just a thin surface, it doesn't really want to crack because it's nice and thin. So today we have to join up. So at the end of the day, when we're done, I just have Landon go and fill all these joints in, and just to make sure they're full and we don't have empty holes. So we want to give it a day to set up, and because you can see that mud is this is starting to get a little harder down here, but it's still like a window glazer's putty, or like you know, Play-Doh or something. So it's very shapeable and very workable still. So we're going to go back and clean all this stuff up today. And probably I would still have time to do it tomorrow even. It's going to be real sunny today, but so I'll just, you know, I'll do it today. I'll spray it with some water, and then at the end of the day I'll wrap it in this hessian cloth that I've been wrapping it in at night after we leave, just so it doesn't keep baking in the sun. Landon was down there working not long ago, and now he's just hanging out on his phone, probably texting his girlfriend.
Trying to call her, actually.
Did you clock out?
Dude, I've been down here for literally 2 minutes.
Hey, you're doing a great job. Okay, so it's the next day. We laid this stuff yesterday, and we're just getting ready to join it up. And you can see it's just been kind of crudely filled. But really, it's too soft to join it the same day you do it. So we just do it the next day, and basically just using one of these small wire brushes. This one's a brass wire brush, so it's kind of soft. And you can just take it like this, or like this, and just scrub the edge of the brick and just clean it up as you go. And we're just trying to get this stuff off the edge of the brick, you know. Some of them are deeper than others, but really we don't want it terribly deep. We just want to expose the edge of the brick and kind of clean it up as we go. And you know, that compared to that, you can tell the difference. So like this is all crude here, and I'll just brush it real quick. And that's kind of the look we're going for. You know, just kind of flat and smooth, but recessed. And recessed not far, but just below the edge of the brick. Like, even see the spot here is like the brick just barely covers the edge of the brick. So I just want to pull that back just enough so you see the whole edge of the brick. Like that. And I feel like, you know, when you back up from down there, or from even just from back here, that look is a lot better look than a round joint or something like that. And you know, because we've spent all the time to get these joints pretty tight, so and they always look bigger, you know, when you're looking, you know, from here. But really, these brick are actually, this one's probably just about touching, you know, but by the time you join it, it looks like something. And some of the brick taper back to front, so then you get a little wider. Like this brick is probably pretty close to touching in the back. But yeah, this is it's a really good overall look. And when you look at the mill buildings and stuff that were built in the 1800s, the joints all look like this, and you can see the entire edge of the brick all the way around. Round joining will just cover it all up. And then, you know, flush joining does the same thing. I want to see that nice edge of the brick. Okay, we are all sponged up now. Chimney is done up here. Actually, not really, but close. I'll probably have to go over it one more time with the sponge as it starts to dry. But now we're just starting to pull apart all these. Get these blankets out of here, out of the way, so we can start working on the flashing. And so, you know, as I'm sponging it, it's you know, when you do jobs like this, sometimes you learn lessons, and sometimes the lessons that you learn that stay the longest are the painful ones. So one of the things I learned on this is when I'm sponging, I always take I take my gloves off, and I always dip my hand in the water with the sponge. Like, I grab the sponge and I go into the water with it. But I usually, like, I'll submerge the whole sponge. Just, you know, not really paying attention, just submersing it, getting my hand in there. And it's fine doing it with all that gray stuff down there. Or, you know, the normal type of, you know, quick setting mortars I use, or whatever. But when you do it with this lime stuff, it is not very good. You don't want to do that with a bare hand. Um, I'll actually I'll show you. Take my glove off here. But you can see that it just dries your hand out. I don't know if you can see all the skin coming off my hand, but yeah, it's pretty gross and dry, and this stuff actually dries it out way more than any other type of mortar or concrete or whatever. So yeah, so I had to learn to not be dipping my hands into the water bucket when I sponge this, because I mean, when I left yesterday, I actually sprayed WD-40 on my hands just to get some moisture back in my hands, because the water doesn't do it. You rinse your hands as much as you want to get a little moisture in there, and it feels better for a second, but yeah, old WD-40 helped out a little bit. Lennon called me over here because he's scared, and he wants Daddy to come protect him. He says there's a big spider over here.
It is big.
Let's have a look. Oh, damn! He's harmless, dude. He's just looking for some bugs. Okay, so we've got all the blankets off, and we're just damping the chimney down just to keep it dry, or to keep it from overly drying in the sun here, since we don't have it covered. But we're really starting to think about what we're going to do on the flashing here. So this brickwork stepped out beyond the block. On both sides, this brickwork had to grow, so I am going to I got to work on parging that in, and I'm going to use some gray. I'm going to use regular gray mortar to do that. This lime mortar is not good at parging thick like that, so I will do that and try to get it all flattened out, so the lead has something nice and flat to sit against. And then the homeowners picked me up a piece of metal that we're thinking we could maybe mount to this roof, and it bends up the side, and it will be I don't know how exactly we're going to fasten it down, but maybe I'll have to get some butyl tape or something to put underneath it. The front I'm not worried about, because my lead, I think I can get my lead to bend over these ribs, and as well as the back. So, and then of course I got to worry about getting under that peak as well, which is going to be tricky with my whole staging setup on here. So I'm gonna start figuring this stuff out. Okay, this is the metal the homeowner brought for me. He picked it up at the lumber yard. He's not sure what it's used for. I'm not sure what it's used for. I'm not really positive on how to flash these corrugated metal roofs. You know, I usually work on standing seam ones, and the roofers usually bend metal for it. But I assume that this is kind of the same idea. It's got this bend in here. I don't know if maybe that's supposed to go over one of the ribs in the roof, but I don't know. I'm going to find a way to make it work, even if it's not its original purpose. This is going to be what I'm going to use it for. So I'm just going to cut it in half, and that should give me enough, one for each side, and I'll go play with it up there and see how it works. So I've just got done marking out for the lead. And one of the things that you'll notice if you look at the front of this chimney, look at the level of the roof compared to the level of that first course of brick. There's a substantial difference, and you know, the roof pitch on this drops a lot on that side, And it's kind of typical with these old farmhouses. The roof's kind of like get a little ripped and dipped over the years. So that's one of the things you'll have to pay attention to. So I've laid it out, and so my front piece of lead's going to go at this height. It's a little higher than normal, but it's going to work out better for me to be just up one more brick than to be here on this course. So this is where I'm going to cut it across, and then on the side I've chalked my line here, and I've marked every piece of lead, and this is going to be 10-inch lead, except for the front corners, which I'll use the 12-inch because it bends around a little bit more, and I don't lose the overlap. So 12-inch on the front corners, and then 10-inch the rest of the way. But all the lead cuts on this side are a lot longer than the lead cuts on that side because of the roof. And the chimney's not twisted. I've measured it perfect with the ridge beam over there. So I know the chimney's not twisted with the house. And if you, by eye, you can see that edge of the roof, it just tips down. And there's nothing you can do about it, but you got to pay attention because, you know, had I just laid out this side with the lead and measured this side and said, cut 12 pieces at this length and 12 pieces for that right side, you think you could just mirror your cuts, but you can't sometimes. So, you know, there's over an inch of difference between this cut and that cut. So you just have to double check and make sure. But anyhow, yeah, I'm just getting ready to cut this out. Got my big grinder. But before I do that, I'm actually going to take, you know, if I start saw cutting now, the problem is I'll fill this house up with dust, and it will be just in the attic, but I don't want to fill it all up with dust. So I'm actually going to go around and just tape up this hole all the way around the chimney with this zip tape. You know, just because I don't want dust going through that gap there. So I'll just tape it up and then I'll cut. All taped up now, and we are just getting ready to cut. Shouldn't be any dust getting in now. You know, but one of the things I was noticing about this chimney, and that I wanted to talk about, which is really cool about using this lime mortar, is you know, we've been damping it down to kind of slow the curing process, especially when it gets really sunny out. And probably yesterday by itself, the two of us probably sprayed it down close to 10 times. And what you'll notice on this brick, or not notice, is there's no efflorescence. So normally if you laid this with a regular type of mortar, even this brick would do it. Some bricks do it more than others, but the efflorescence that would bleed through this brick just by laying it when it's damp and then spraying it over and over, it would bleed through this white efflorescence, right? But this lime mortar doesn't do that. And you'll notice that looking at old historical buildings as well that were built with this lime mortar, they don't have the efflorescence like the normal mortars nowadays. And you do see it bleed through the brick, and people think that it's the brick that's doing it, but the efflorescence is coming through the brick, but it's only coming through the brick because it's retaining moisture, and it's retaining moisture because the mortars won't let the moisture drain out. If that makes sense. You know, when the brick gets damp, the water just festers in there and it can't come out through the mortar, so it's trying to come out through the brick, and it pushes all those salts out of the face of the brick. So I'm working on these side pieces here to try to figure out how I can use this bent up metal the homeowner left me. And I think that, I don't know if this is what it's supposed to be used for, but I think this is going to work pretty good. I had to angle this out because the rib's a little too far over, so I angled this way out, and this is how it's going to work here. And basically just got it to slide up under there. Got a little notch in there, and then it goes up like that. It's over that rib so the water can't get in, right? And I'm just going to cut this, and I think that's going to work. Yeah, so my bottom piece of flashing, my apron piece, is gonna have to go under this piece, and then I can start going over it with all the other pieces. It looks like. Of course, I'm gonna have to screw this down. I'm not gonna put a lot of fasteners in it. I'm just gonna put enough to probably just put a couple screws going up the side here, some metal roofing screws. Yeah, I don't see why that won't work. It's probably not how a metal roofer would do it, but I don't have metal and brakes or anything like that, so I just got to make this work. You know, and they're changing the roof on this, so it's just going to work for now. So in the near future, they're going to be replacing this entire roof. So I think that they're leaning towards some kind of like a cedar look or something, like an original type of cedar shake. But maybe it might be a synthetic shake. I'm not sure. But yeah, this metal roof was poorly done. You see all these fasteners are just. Oh, this guy likes that fastener. What's he doing there? Hello, sir. Anyhow, but all these fasteners have pulled up, and they're not even tight on the roof, and I don't really know why. Like all these ones, see how they're just kind of popped up? I don't know why they've all pulled up like that, but yeah, they're gonna replace this roof with something nicer. We're making some progress on the flashing, and this apron piece kind of ended up a little wonky trying to bend over these ridges, so I'll have to come and cut this to straighten it up a little bit more than what it looks like. It's a little crooked. I tried to square it up with the panels on the roof, but then after I bent it, it got a little crooked, so no biggie. But you can see that this one went under this brown piece of roofing, and then everything else went over it like that, and I just let this stuff kind of run wild over it, and I'll come back and cut all that stuff up after. But right now I'm up to the ridge here, and yeah, the problem is I can't bend everything around like that. So I think what I'm gonna try to do is take these screws out of the ridge here. Since I can't just take it off, I'm gonna take the screws out and then just slide it that way. If I can, I shouldn't have too much weight on here on the ridge itself, so I should be able to just slide it out of the way, work my lead around, and then slide it back over after. And I'll have to do the same thing on the other side. It's been kind of a pain. I had to remove that ridge cap that extended to the chimney so I can get my flashing up and through, but I had my scaffolding on top of the screws that hold down the ridge cap, so I had to take everything down. The back set, most of everything here, so I could just slide these planks out on both sides to be able to get the screws that I needed to get out to pull the ridge caps. And then look at this guy. I pulled this ridge cap. This guy is mad at me. I killed his whole family. And yeah, so I pulled this one, and all these wasps started swarming me and were landing on me all over. I didn't end up getting stung, but I did kill all of them except for one now, so it wouldn't be humane to leave him alive, I don't think. Not that his whole family's dead now. But yeah, now I have access to finish up this lead work and bend it around, and then I'll put the caps back on after. So we got all the lead work done now, and I'm just getting ready to cut this line to make it look all nice and tidy. I've chalked this blue line on here, and that's where I'm going to cut, except for everywhere that I run into the next piece of lead, I'm going to angle the cut with that piece of lead. So cut the blue line up and then angle that way, and that will leave me a nice little triangle piece. I've already started on this side, so it'll leave me a nice little triangle piece that I can then take and bend over like that on every piece, and that will interlock this whole thing going up and down. Let's have a quick look at the flash in here before I move on to the next step. So you can see how I've got these tabs that fold over, and they're going to hold this whole thing down. The whole thing is, you know, if you lift it, you lift the whole thing. So it's not like these pieces can just be blown up in the wind or something. I'm just going to get this other piece, this piece of ridge, and put that back over here and do the same thing on the other side. Oh, look at that lone survivor. That's what it looks like on the back. And yep, so that's a wrap for the flashing. And now we're just gonna we're getting ready to just power wash this roof off. All right, this is final look. We just put the second coat of parging around the outer edge. You know, the that lime, it was too thick there, so I let it dry for a couple days and it hairline cracked. And I just went over it with another coat just to fill in those cracks, and I don't expect it to crack now. It's had a good couple days to dry, and this coat that I put on is really light. It's mainly just filling the cracks, and so it should be good now. But yeah, that's what it looks like. All said and done. The only thing we have to do now is put the rain cap on here. The flashing's on. We've taken most of the staging down. It's Lannon's last day. Heading back to college. Big college boy. I'm gonna be so lonely without him.
Driving up 2 hours a day. We get to talk to me in the work truck.
Getting paid for 2 hours a day doing nothing. Sleeping. Okay, I guess we're done. We're just gonna wash. I got some splatter on the roof now after I washed it just from sponging this stuff, so I gotta hit it with the pressure washer real quick, and then we'll be done for the day. Done for the summer. Will he be back next summer?
I just get sent back to the lobby right now. Down the ladder.
There's a hook right there. There's literally a hook right there, and he still would take it down the ladder instead.
I'm going down anyway.
So one of the things I keep doing is saturating this chimney. Unlike a modern construction chimney where we have modern mortars, this one I have to keep soaking it. Well, it's better to keep soaking, I should say, so that lime can get that moisture in there. It's craving moisture, and it doesn't set like it's not hydraulic, so it doesn't set just by adding water. This mortar only sets by carbonation. So basically it has to absorb carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere for this to come to a full set. Like you know, it's hard right now. It's pretty hard. But it's still gonna have to get a lot harder, and it's only gonna do that through carbonation. So I hose this thing down and hose it down. I don't know how many times I've sprayed this with water, and literally within 5 minutes it's already dry. It does not let moisture sit on the outside of the brick, and some people might think that's a bad thing, but I actually think it's not a bad thing. I think that dispersing moisture and pulling it away from the face, you know, the problems occur when moisture festers around the face of the brick. That's when it freezes and starts peeling the brick and stuff. This stuff, the moisture can travel away from the face really quickly. It can drain out. In my opinion, this is the best way to build a chimney with lime mortar. And also, you know, we have the flues in here. Like, we don't have, this chimney's not capped off like a traditional chimney where you have clay liners come out and we cap it with concrete. This chimney can breathe. It can get air, and if it ever gets completely saturated, soaking wet, it'll just dry out. I mean, the water's not going to fester in there and freeze. This chimney will always dry. And sure, you might get water down your flue, like they would have a couple hundred years ago. But it will always dry out with ventilation, or you could drive it out by having a fire. That would drive it out. But doing it this way, this is the best method to building a chimney and fireplace, and we got away from it, and it's kind of a shame. But anyhow, so I will protect this with a rain cap that goes over the entire thing, which I think is going to be really good for it. But yeah, I mean, just in my opinion, with all the chimneys I've seen over the years and all the problems I see with modern chimneys, this was the best way to build. It still is the best way to build. You cannot build like this and comply with today's codes. So, that's obviously an issue. But if we could still build like this and just worry about clearances, clearances to the, obviously these old chimneys were built with wood right up against them. Wood was incorporated into the structure. If we were to build like this and just say, okay, we'll keep wood, all framing members 2 inches away from touching any masonry 2-inch air gap, it would be a much better method to build like this than how we build nowadays. That's just my take on it.